What is their ceiling? So we got 17 votes on that. 13 of them said no. Uh, and for a variety of reasons. Um, I know some said no, but depends on how healthy Brooklyn is. Brooklyn was injured this year. They're getting older, so it's possible, they may or may not be healthy all the way through again next year. They may start to continue to break down, but they may be healthy. Um, you can never count on injuries. You can never assume injuries. Um, but with three players that are all getting older, it's possible that could happen. But if you're looking at talent on paper right now, which is really all we can do, are they good enough to beat that Brooklyn team or this Milwaukee team that's been together for a while now? And for the most part, the nucleus has been together for a while. Uh, I don't know that they are myself. I didn't vote, but my answer would have been no. Um, I like, I guess, re-signing Evan Fournier. I think he fits in well with the Jays. He fits in really with ever, with his ability to space the floor. He was 50% on catch and shoot threes this last year with Boston, so he fits anywhere. If you can re-sign him, and depending on what you re-sign him for. Um, so I get that. Other issues in addition to health, was some say we still need a third star. Um, I don't know if that necessary. That's the person who put that. I assume they mean in addition to Jalen and Jason, and not including Evan Fournier, who they consider, maybe they just consider as a floor spacer. But they need another star. Um, Once you get into talking that way, it starts to get real expensive. I don't know if we can afford that. And maybe what really is we just need a higher ceiling in the top two guys in our team. Um, Potentially more on that later. But so say we need to add more toughness. So there are a lot of different answers on this. Um, we don't have enough stars to out ISO teams. I noticed, and I don't know if any of you Boston fans noticed this last night, but part of the reason why I noticed Phoenix starting to fall apart is, as a young team, they started to um, lose a lot of that team basketball mentality we saw in those first two games, and a lot of what we saw in the earlier series, and go into a lot of ISO ball, which if you're a Celtics fan, we've seen this playbook all this last year. You replace Book and Chris Paul with Jalen and Jason last year, and you're getting basically the same offense that we started to see with Phoenix in these last couple of games. And it's just a reminder, young teams um, tend to lose their structure in clutch games and big games. They lose their structure. They lose the fundamentals that of movement and ball movement and player movement that got them all the way there. And stuff just tends to fall into guys stopping and staring at the ball, and um, watching guys ISO. Um, some teams have been really great at avoiding that. The old San Antonio teams were great at it. Um, the Golden State teams were great at it because Steph Curry just never stops moving without the ball. Whether he has the ball, whether he doesn't have the ball, he never stops relocating. Same with Klay Thompson. But uh, yeah, I mean, it's the answer. A lot of people said the answer is no on this question, that we do not have enough. Um, and so how do we close this gap? That's the question for Brad right now. How do we close this gap? There will be some um, internal development with new coaching and new buy-in. There'll be some, reliability with health. Some that'll aid us, and maybe a few new players here and there. That should raise the floor of what this team can do. Um, but this team it needs experience. It needs experienced talent. Guys that know how to perform in the clutch. We're still such a very young team. There's a lot of players that we're potentially counting on to contribute that are really young and are just kind of figuring it out, including our two stars, which is hard to ask them to, to beat these experienced teams that have been together for a while. It's hard to ask those two guys to do it. Sure, we've been to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the last 5 years now. Um, it's just not easy to ask them to do that, um, and beat veteran teams when your best two players are young, and then the players supporting them are also young. So we've got to get older uh, and fast. Um, so I